From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. In today's show, Mark visits with outgoing National Cattlemen's Beef Association President Buck Wehrbein. I learn more about the Leopold Conservation Award, and Dustin wraps up his conversation with Robert Cossar of Croplan. I'm Riley Smith, one of your hosts for today, and joining me now is Dustin Huffman. And Dustin, as we got into the office this morning, say goodbye to that warmer weather that we've been seeing so far this February, right?
Yeah, most definitely. It is. We were enjoying it. I know people were talking about that. Oh, we could use more sun this or more sun that and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know what? We're above freezing in the middle of February. Let's not look the gift horse in the mouth too much. But yeah, it's been nice. But now we're talking some winter weather advisories by tonight and into tomorrow morning. We're also talking some chillier temperatures by the weekend, but then it's supposed to get better again by middle of next week, and that's also kind of par for the course around here. Before we get too much further, I want to let you know this first segment of Iowa Ag Matters is brought to you by Meristem Crop Performance. Meristem helps Iowa farmers take cost out and produce more bushels for less. You can come see them at Commodity Classics Trade Show at booth 3881. So, yeah, getting back to it there, Riley, of course, you know, the weather is nice. People are a little bit itching to get going on this. Heard reports that some people are already tossing the idea of maybe planting some early soybeans again and testing that out. But, you know, Mother Nature, Old Man Winter, they're the ones really in control of this when it's all said and done.
You know, there are three guaranteed things in this world: death, taxes, and farmers planting as early as they possibly can once the weather turns slightly warmer. But it's true. A lot of people are looking at just how early they can squeak in those crops. And I know February is kind of an extreme example from that, but it does feel like every year it's earlier and earlier and earlier. And then we are talking about, honestly, benefits as we get towards the end of the crop season. I know we heard a lot about that in our reports last year.
Yeah, we did. We knew there was a couple fields that they tested the theories out, at least in February, and they didn't see really anything that would make them think that it wasn't a good idea. Now we're seeing, though, soybeans are handling it better than corn. Corn is not taking well to it. And corn, you know, for as hardy as corn is towards the end of the season, is soybeans, you know, just seem to be more hardy in the beginning part of it, so they can and we'll, you know, kind of figure that out, you know, as it goes. But, you know, soybeans have been really showing the hardiness of them in the beginning, and they're able to stay dormant longer without causing any problems.
Now, we saw some pretty cold temperatures this year, and I know last year had a little bit of a mild winter, and then heading into the crop season, we saw a lot of that rust issues coming through for the corn. I'm really curious to see as we go through this crop season, since we did see some pretty bitter cold for this winter, maybe, and you know, I'm knocking on wood right now, but just maybe we should see a bit less of that if we see any of it at all.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it, Riley. But of course, you know, that's one of those things that we talked about. I mean, it does show up once in a while in those southern tier counties, and it's been said before, and we talked to different agronomists across the state, but it's like a once in a decade kind of thing where it gets as far north as it did. And so, you know, that was the word we got at the beginning of harvest last year, as people were starting to make their plans already. You know, that if you saw some of that hit from southern rust, don't take that as a knock that your hybrid is not going to stand up to it. You need to change everything, and you need to change your whole game plan. They said stick with what works, what you know works, because if you stick with the program, you're going to be fine, for one thing, especially when you talk about fungicide and those kinds of things, because you're going to get out ahead of these diseases, and it'll help you protect against southern rust. So maybe look at a fungicide that maybe gives you that first chance to block it ahead of time. But otherwise, don't worry about changing your system up. Trying to make sure you maintain with what, because you had a once in a decade kind of event happen. Don't let that screw up the whole plan just because maybe last year didn't go according to plan. You know, and especially when we're looking at the crops that were looking as good as we saw them.
You know, if you try to change your plan to every single thing that happens to every single crop year, you're always going to be playing catch up. You can't possibly just adapt to every single thing that is going to happen. So it is good, like you mentioned, to just get ahead of things. And honestly, the best deterrent is to just have a healthy crop to start with, and then hopefully they can get through those disease, pest, weed issues, anything that could happen during the year. We'll go ahead and move on to the market conversation now. Mark Magnuson visiting with Eric Relf of Comstock.
Joined today by Eric Relf of Comstock for the opening market discussion. Eric, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Well, we're actually seeing a little bit of a mixed bag here this morning. Wheat carrying the load for the last few days, been kind of a surprise to the market. Ukraine having some issues and that lending strength to the Kansas City wheat specifically. but that bleeding over to all three categories, spring wheat and Chicago benefiting as well. So we've seen some life there. You would think that would lend support to the corn, but the corn just unresponsive to anything. I think the average trade estimate for the USDA Ag Outlook Forum numbers that came out this morning was something like a 94.6 million acres. They come out at 94 even, market completely unresponsive. Soybeans made a new high yesterday, failed to get back up there today. We actually had kind of what I would consider an ugly close in the soybeans yesterday, but up a couple of cents here this morning as we come out of the break, and showing a little bit of sign of life, that being led by the soybean oil again today, up 35 to 40 points. So the soybean oil rally has been pretty remarkable, and that's been carrying the beans in spite of the fact that we've not seen the daily flash sales that we were hoping for over the last week.
And is soybean oil right now all tied to hopes of more positive biofuel news?
That's the generality. I mean, we're expecting to see some sustainable aviation fuel news, even E15 news, but the corn continues to be unresponsive. But yeah, biofuel news, renewable fuels, the National Corn Growers Association making some headlines here in the last 24 hours saying, we need some permanent policy in place. We need to see some legislation that's going to be meaningful. And so we expect to see some response to that, because they do lobby pretty hard for this, and they are lobbying pretty hard for it. But the soybean oil really the only one benefiting so far, and of course lending strength to the beans as a result.
And we've heard that for, quite some time now about the benefit of year-round E15. That would help a lot because, as we know, there's that demand problem on the corn side.
Exactly. And, our ethanol grind has been pretty robust. We've continued to grind at a rapid pace. The demand's been there on the export side of things. The feed and residual usage has been good. And to see this market just completely lethargic in the midst of all of this input is concerning. But at some point, you'd have to think that the market would react. And hopefully we see that as we move through, of course, the rest of the month, where we're setting crop insurance spring pricing. And then as we move towards the intended acreage report the end of next month.
Your local radio station keeps you connected to your community. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network provides ag-focused programming to keep your farm business running strong. Together, we bring you the latest markets, weather updates, and policy news. Whether we're in the field or in meeting halls, our team is always out and about gathering the news that's important to you. Powered by Iowa Agriculture, trusted by Iowa farmers. This message from your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Coming up here on Iowa Ag Matters, of course, the NCBA event was just not that long ago in Nashville. Mark Magnuson had a chance to talk with outgoing NCBA President Buck Wehrbein, and we sat down at the Iowa State Fair last summer, and we're going to get his thoughts on how that year and his tenure went.
Mark Magnuson with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Buck Wehrbein. He is the NCBA president. We are at CattleCon, the Cattle Industry Convention, and Buck getting close to wrapping up his term as president. And Buck, I've heard you talking with a few people here today that basically this past year has gone by very quickly for you. When you think about this year and what it's been like being in this role as a leader in this organization, I guess just what has it been like for you?
It's shocking how fast it goes by. When I took over in San Antonio a year ago, it seems like that was about a month. And so I got to about July, August, and I felt like I was hitting my stride, kind of knew what was going on and going to different state affiliates and talking. And I realized, holy mackerel, this is going by fast. And so here we are. And I think it's gone by fast because there's been so much good going on. The cattle market is just absolutely beyond any of our imagination. And that, of course, is fun.
And to that last point, then what's it like as a producer right now? Do you have to pinch yourself a little bit and say, hey, things are going great right now, but it's not guaranteed to always be that way? Like, what do you kind of set your mindset with right now based on where the market is? You better pinch yourself and enjoy it. And if you think about our business, it's segmented, and you've got the producer out there, the cow-calf guy and the seed stock and whatnot. They can't change their cost much. I mean,
So they need this market to heal up financially and pay off some debt and expand and whatever they want to do. So this has been a long time coming and very much needed. When you take the margin players like I am, a feedlot guy, I tell people you can't carry the money away in a dump truck we're making. Then when we turn around and replace them, we're dumping it all, replacing them. So it doesn't stay in the dump truck very long, but still the profits are wonderful. The key though is for the producer. We have to have them obviously. And so I'm really happy for them.
I was talking earlier today with Ethan Lane of the NCBA, and he had mentioned to me about the importance of producer voices at an event like this, especially. There's, for example, a lot of Iowa cattlemen that are walking around. They're going into the meetings, they're making their voice heard, letting their opinions be known. How powerful is that for the individual producer at an event like this to basically use their voice to help shape things and where they're headed?
That's exactly right. And the important thing is to understand how our whole process works. And we call it grassroots, and it really is. So all our policy is created by producers. And our staff and leadership do not do anything that is not in the policy book. Well, that begins at county affiliates and state affiliates and works its way up through the process to the board of directors meeting. And so between this and the summer meetings, those things are put into policy and written and voted on. It's codified in the summer meeting and then goes out to a vote of all the members, not just the ones that are here or at summer meetings. They all have an opportunity to vote. So all the things we do are in place because of individuals. So it's very important to come here, and it's very important to be a member.
He is Buck Wehrbein, the outgoing president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Buck, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it, and have a great rest of the CattleCon 2026.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Spring planning starts with one smart decision. Corn Pro from Landis delivers a complete corn program with built-in savings. Nutritionals, herbicide, and fungicide, all working together in one plan backed by local expertise. Lock in competitive pricing, sign up any number of acres, and take advantage of 0% interest through 2026 to protect your cash flow. Less complexity, more performance. Get the most out of your corn crop with Corn Pro from Landis. Talk with your local Landis team today.
To run down those elevator prices for you here on Iowa Ag Matters on this Thursday. I'm Dustin Hoffman. We didn't see a lot of movement in the elevator bids, only 3 elevators making any kind of price change and nothing too significant to establish a trend. Take a look at those elevators and where they're pricing here today. Starting at ADM Burlington, they're 11 cents under on corn, $4.16. Soybeans, 14 cents under, $11.27. At Cargill and Eddyville, they're 15 cents under on corn with a cash bid of $4.12. New Co-op Algona, 31 cents under on corn, $3.96. Soybeans, 67 cents under, $10.74. Ag State Sheldon, 18 cents under on corn, $4.09. Soybeans, 75 cents under, $10.66. Ag State Elta, 37 cents under on corn, $3.90. Soybeans, 65 cents under, their cash bid of $10.76. Cargill Cedar Rapids, a dime under on corn, cash price $4.17. Soybeans 45 cents under, $10.96. 5-Star Co-op Nashua, 22 cents under on corn, $4.05. Soybeans 60 cents under, $10.81. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada, 17 cents under on corn, $4.10 for the cash bid. ADM Des Moines, 50 cents under on soybeans, the cash price there $10.91. New Co-op Red Oak, 28 cents under on corn, $3.99. Soybeans 75 cents under, $10.66. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain, 36 cents under on corn, cash bid $3.91. Soybeans 80 cents under, $10.61. New Co-op Sheraton, 32 cents under on corn, $3.95. Soybeans 75 cents under at $10.66. Waukon Feed Ranch, 38 cents under on corn, $3.89. Soybeans 70 cents under, $10.71. New Co-op Glidden, 30 cents under on corn, cash bid $3.97. Soybeans 67 cents under at $10.74. Innovative Ag Services Farley, 39 cents under on corn, $3.88. Soybeans 72 cents under with a cash bid of $10.69. And at Cargill and Muscatine, the river's closed for the season. Deliveries there will resume the week of March the 23rd. Cash corn and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevator when making sales to obtain the most recent price. That's been a rundown of our cash corn and soybean bids here on Iowa Ag Matters. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland, the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
Well, applications are now open for the Leopold Conservation Award as we rejoin you here on Iowa Ag Matters. Riley Smith had a chance to learn more about what to expect in that application process.
Riley Smith, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, on the phone right now with Lance Irving, the Vice President of the Leopold Conservation Award with the Sand County Foundation. And Lance, it's great to talk with you today. Just recently saw that the application window is open for the Iowa Leopold Conservation Award. First off, if you could tell us a little bit about this award, kind of the history behind it, and who it's seeking to honor.
Absolutely. Well, the Leopold Conservation Award has been active in Iowa since 2022, but it's been in other parts of the country since 2003. And essentially what the Leopold Conservation Award does is it recognizes farmers, ranchers, or forest land owners who are voluntarily achieving great conservation success. So it's your farmers and your ranchers who are showcasing that conservation and production can and should have that symbiotic relationship to help not only produce food and fiber, but also environmental benefits.
All right, Lance, I'm just going to let you know right now, we have maintenance coming into our apartment right now, but I'll keep us going. It will be just fine, but
Sure.
Just so you know. So if you hear anything in the background, especially, my dog's barking, we'll let them settle down a little bit. But
Yep.
So let's see. All right, up next. I think next I'll talk about the specifics of the award. So how much it is and all that stuff. So
Sure.
I'll get that queued up in 3, 2, 1. So Lance, with that award, what all is included in that? How much is it for those farmers? And I know it's also in partnership with a few other organizations as well to make this possible, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's not something the Sand County Foundation does alone. We do it in Iowa in partnership with the Conservation Districts of Iowa, Practical Farmers of Iowa, and our national sponsor, American Farmland Trust. Along with those partnering organizations, we've got a number of wonderful organizations that help to sponsor and support the award and make it possible. When somebody is selected to be a Leopold Conservation Award recipient, there's a number of things that end up happening in addition to some great publicity. There is a 5 to 7 minute movie made about them and about their conservation practices. They get a handsome crystal award and signage. But the thing that probably grabs the most attention is they also get a check for $10,000. So it does pay to achieve conservation success in Iowa.
And not only does it pay, financially in that way, like we were mentioning, but it's also important for farmers to keep up that work and take care of the land. We know that it's very easy for things to turn south fast when it comes to land conservation and nutrient runoff and all those different things. So encouraging that development as farmers continue to become more sustainable, obviously is a great goal for everyone to want to achieve, right?
Oh, absolutely. And, achieving conservation success is also very closely linked to economic success. As conservation practices are implemented on the land, what we often find is that it also makes the farmer or that rancher more profitable because they're not inputting too many inputs. They're not losing nutrients. They're achieving yield growth without having to put more resources in because their soil is healthier and they've got better water infiltration and all those good things. So it doesn't only make environmental sense, it also makes economic sense.
And Lance, when we look at the application deadline, when is that deadline and how long do farmers have to apply and where can they apply?
Sure. We will be accepting nominations from now until July 1st, and you can find the nomination materials at sandscountyfoundation.org, and you'll follow a pretty easy path there to the Iowa nomination. Or if you happen to know somebody in another state, you can get the other state's nomination there. But we'll be collecting those nominations until July 1st, and you can either nominate yourself, you can nominate a family member, or a neighbor, or a friend, or just somebody that you know is doing a fantastic job. So if you know of a great Iowa land steward, we would encourage you to nominate them or encourage them to apply for this award.
All right, Lance, thank you so much for the time today, and we hope you get plenty of applications and nominations this year.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time. It's always great and an important thing to recognize those landowners among us that are quietly achieving great things and making our communities not only healthy but also beautiful.
Your local radio station brings you the pulse of your community. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network adds specialized ag content to help farmers make informed decisions. From county fairs to national ag news, we're here to tell the story of agriculture to everyone who needs to hear it. Together, we deliver a blend of local community and ag industry-focused information that rural Iowa relies on every day. This message from your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
You're listening to Iowa Ag Matters, and earlier this morning we got a breaking news announcement from the USDA as Secretary Brooke Rollins announced that they will have the intent to purchase up to $263 million in dairy and agricultural products from American farmers and producers to distribute to food banks and nutrition assistance programs across the country. These purchases are being made through the USDA's authority under Section 32 of the Agriculture Act of 1935 and will assist producers and communities in need. And Dustin, we've been talking a lot about this kind of a purchase potentially that could happen to increase that demand for producers, increase the availability of food for people who are food insecure nationwide. And it looks like that finally came to fruition.
Yeah, that it did. And of course, that also helps relieve some of the strain because now that means we're getting commodities purchased, helping grow some of that demand. It's something the USDA has done in the past. Didn't matter who was in the White House or who was in the USDA at the time. It's something they've done in the past to help, stimulate some of the sales for these products and grow some more demand for us that way. So good news coming from the USDA here this morning. More Iowa Ag Matters in a moment.
Spring planting starts with one smart decision. Corn Pro from Landis delivers a complete corn program with built-in savings. Nutritionals, herbicide, and fungicide, all working together in one plan backed by local expertise. Lock in competitive pricing, sign up any number of acres, and take advantage of 0% interest through 2026 to protect your cash flow. Less complexity, more performance. Get the most out of your corn crop with Corn Pro from Landis. Talk with your local Landis team today.
It's time now to take a look at the midday markets here on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. On the phone right now with Amanda Brill of Total Farm Marketing as we take a look at the midday markets. Amanda, what are we seeing going on in the grains right now?
So the markets are mixed right now. We have corn down 2.5 cents at $4.24.5 for March. March beans are up 2.5 at $11.36, and then the wheat is up 9.25. That's at $5.56.25. So it's a little interesting. Wheat's been on a pretty nice run over the past few days, and typically that would pull corn along with it, but it just hasn't really been budging. The corn market's probably been the most frustrating thing here. But we did have the Outlook Forum numbers come out this morning. If anything, they were a little bit friendly for corn. They're expecting 94 million acres of corn planted, which compares to 98.8 last year. Most of those acres they have going towards soybeans. So we'll see if that becomes a reality, but if that was realized with the trend line yield at 183, that would have ending stocks below 2 billion bushels. It would have them around 1.8. So it's still a huge supply, but maybe a little bit more friendly than things have been. For wheat, I think the story is likely what's going on in Ukraine. We know that Ukrainian and Russian tensions have been increasing, but I think the bigger thing is that their winter wheat crop has had some pretty serious issues with winter kill. They had some warm weather come in, melt the snow, and then they had freezing temperatures come in for a while. So there's some concern that we see yield knockdown in that winter wheat crop, and their winter wheat crop is 95% of their total production. So if there's some serious issues there, I I don't know. It justifies the rally, and hopefully we can see prices get a little bit higher. And then soybeans they've been really strong. And it's interesting there too, because President Trump tweeted about China maybe buying those 8 million metric tons of soybeans a couple weeks ago, but they haven't bought anything since that announcement. And we know they're in their holiday right now, but you would have expected it for us to stay this elevated in the March futures, that we would have seen some sales come in. We haven't. So I think that'll be something to watch the next couple of weeks, see if China's a buyer. If not, it's possible that we lose some of these gains.
All right, Amanda, lots of great information today. For anyone who would like to get in touch for more information from Total Farm Marketing, how can they do that?
Best way is just to give us a call. Our number's 800-334-9779.
In rural Iowa, you need reliable information. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network brings you ag-specific content like market trends, weather outlooks, and policy updates that matter to your operation, while your local station brings you community news and consistent updates on what is happening in your area. It's a partnership built for the challenges of rural life. Your farm, your local station, and your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. Find us online at iowaagnet.com.
At midday, March corn down 2.5 at 424.5. March soybeans up 2 3/4 at 1136.25. March soybean meal up 30 cents at 304.20. March soybean oil up 66 cents at 59.25. On the Merc, April live cattle up 62 cents at 243.15. March feeders down 20 cents at 370.37. April lean hogs up 65 cents at 93.20. April pork cutout went unchanged at 103.40. That's been a check of the midday markets here on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. You're listening to Iowa Ag Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Riley Smith filling in for Mark Magnuson today. Dustin Huffman joining me as well. As promised earlier, we'll get back to the livestock conversation now in the ag marketplace. Mark Magnuson visiting with Eric Ralph of Comstock.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade?
We're pretty quiet in the cattle. I think traders kind of holding breath, waiting to see how the Fed cattle cash trade develops this week. Last week was pretty quiet until Friday. And then all of a sudden on Friday, we just saw it chunking higher and higher as the afternoon wore on. And by the end of it, we were having a lot of 249 plus one, so 250 live trade, particularly in the Southern Plains. That energized the market to start the week. Now we're kind of, like I said, in a stall pattern, waiting on tomorrow afternoon's cattle on feed report, where we have a placement number expected at 96.7 with a remarkably low marketing number. So we'll have to see how the data comes out tomorrow afternoon. I would expect that we'll continue holding breath, waiting on that Fed cattle trade until after the cattle on feed report, as the packers tend to do that on these weeks where we have those reports coming out on Friday afternoon. On the hog side of things, pretty quiet today. We are higher the last couple of days, which is nice to see. We didn't just fall off a cliff, because technically we had done some damage, taking out some trendline support in key contracts. But the June and July both trading a little bit green here this morning after a couple of up days. This probably will be viewed as another opportunity to get some hedging done as we get the summer months pushed up towards the 109, 110 area. But lean hog futures, pretty impressive to stabilize and not fall apart when technically they sure could have.
What's the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
Well, you can find us on all the social media outlets. You can go to the Comstock channel on YouTube. You can go to our website at comstock.com, or feel free to just give us a call, 712-227-1110.
Eric Ralph of Comstock, my guest here today. Thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
You too, Mark. Thank you.
Stay up to date with the latest in the ag industry with Agribusiness Matters from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Each weekday, we bring you the latest advancements in farming, from new precision ag technology to cutting-edge sustainable farming practices. Agribusiness Matters is also your source for the most relevant ag news, policy discussions, and insights that are shaping the future of agriculture. Tune in to Agribusiness Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. As we get ready to wrap up Iowa Ag Matters for another day, we're continuing the conversation on the use of data for farmers. Just as important as your herbicides, as your hybrid selections, is making sure you have quality data that can help you make the proper decisions for a crop year. Dustin's visiting now with Robert Cossar of Croplan.
And of course, once you look at that data, you've got to be able to do something with it. And of course, you guys also have the products, the expertise, the backup to help them take that data and do something with it. Talk a little bit about the pipeline of products that Croplan has, how you then take that, incorporate that into the data that you're giving those farmers to make the best judgments they can in these situations.
Absolutely. I'm extremely excited about the pipeline and portfolio of the Croplan seed brand today. I was just with our seed portfolio managers a few weeks ago as they did their final round of advancements. And as I talk about, Croplan, we have access to all those germplasm pools and all those trait pools. And the new class of Croplan products, you'll see some Paracord and List products. You'll see some Smart Stacks Pros, some VT4 Pros. So again, all those trait packages and all those genetic packages, growers have a laundry list of hybrids in the market they can choose from. How they get to that one hybrid that goes on that one field is about the management pieces of that hybrid that best fits that acre, right? And so that's what we're working with a retail sales agronomist with. The pipeline of Croplan is really extremely strong from a yield standpoint, but you couple that with our management expertise and the management information we have, and we believe our retail sales agronomists can place the absolutely best set of genetics and traits for that acre that grower has.
All right, so Croplan's got the data to give to the farmers. You've got the pipeline of the products they need. Now, when you hand that data off to the farmers and you show them that, I'm sure I can speak for a lot of farmers that when we look at this pile of data, we might be scratching our head and go, what is this all going to mean? How does Croplan then take that data, give it to the farmer, and help them understand what they really need to know, I should say, when their wheels hit the ground there in the field?
Yeah, and that's where, from a Croplan seed data piece, we talked about Anthroplots, but the other piece of that where really as rubber meets the road, right, is when we talk about our proving ground trials, which is that on-farm trials. So replicated data from the Anthroplot system tells us how to management of those hybrids, and then that local on-farm. Every grower says, that's great, but tell me how this is going to work on my farm. Improving ground trials is an opportunity for us to show that grower how those hybrids are going to work on their farm and how. And so then we couple that together, and that retail sales agronomist really is the outlet of that information to the grower. And we believe it's a conversation. We believe the best selection always occurs when a retail sales agronomist and a grower sit down together and have a conversation around the agronomics and the economics of that field. And that's way we believe the growers get the right hybrids and the right traits on the right acre is by having a conversation with the retail sales agronomist.
All right, so we've talked about the data, we've talked about the pipeline, how they can use that data, and you right there ended with talking with their local retailer and their retail agronomist and going from that direction. So folks want to take this information we've given them today and they want to put that into motion. What's the next best way for them to get in touch with that Croplan agronomist and those folks to get that ball rolling for them?
I'd say the first step is your local retail sales agronomist. Contact them. If you don't know who they are, please reach out to us and we can help you. The other place is croplan.com, right? Croplan.com, that's where we have all of our products, all of our Anthroplot data, all of our response to scores, as well as some of our own farm data. So growers can go to croplan.com. They can do some research themselves, find those products, those maturities, those traits, those management pieces and data, and start kind of narrowing that down as well. And then if any growers are at Commodity Classic and we'd love to have them come by and visit with us there. We'll be in booth 3081. We would love for growers to stop by and visit us at the Commodity Classic. But again, I'm going to always point growers at retail sales agronomists. They know more about that grower's field than any of us ever will, right? And so start there, croplan.com. I'd love to have you visit with us at Commodity Classic in booth 3081.
All right, Steve Cossar of Croplan has been our guest today. Robert Cossar of Croplan has been our guest here today. Robert, thanks so much for taking the time to visit with us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dustin. Appreciate you having us.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
Well, that's going to bring us to a close of another episode of Iowa Ag Matters. And thanks again to everybody for tuning in. Mark will be back with us again tomorrow. Of course, he was there for our market conversations, but up to the Spencer area now, talking with the folks at the Iowa Soybean Association for the latest episode of Pods of Potential coming out real soon. Thanks to Riley, and of course, thanks to you for listening. Have yourself a great day. Try to stay out of any snow that could be coming our way here tonight and into tomorrow. You're listening to the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. This has been Iowa Ag Matters.